Why is it that so many people today have become convinced that God can't be real? Probably it's because of some things the modern world has made us more aware of than ever before. We've always known that those things were there, but in our day they've become so noticeable that they raise bigger questions in our minds than they ever used to. Let's look at 3 of those. First, there's the problem of evil. We live in a world where horrible things happen daily to thousands of people. Life can seem enormously unfair and cruel. In the course of the 20th century, in places like Hiroshima, Auschwitz, Cambodia and Rwanda, we've seen horrific things happen on a scale we never imagined was possible. Why would a God allow all of this to go on? And it's not just things humans do. Think of the tsunami that devastated Indonesia, the earthquake that shook Nepal. If this world has been created by a good God, he hasn't made a very good job of it, has he? And yet, despite all the suffering and horror, there's something inside us that clings to the basic belief that this is a good world, a place we are supposed to enjoy and prosper in. Many people who intended to kill themselves have paused and changed their minds at the last moment, just because of the sense that life has a beauty and a value that it would seem stupid to leave it behind unnecessarily. The world isn't just a torture chamber, but a place of mingled good and evil. The sort of place that might have been created by a good God before somebody else messed it up. And that's precisely what the Bible says did happen. God created a world in which everything's there for our enjoyment and enrichment, but evil has blighted and spoiled it. God could step in and change it all at a stroke, but that would be at the price of ending human freedom, turning us into robots who had to do what he told us, rather than free choosing beings with our own dignity and creativity of our own. Evil doesn't disprove God. It just points to a problem in his creation. Another thing we know more about today is the sheer number of other faiths and creeds in the world. There are great world religions with very different ideas from what the Bible says. Surely, if there were a God, he'd make himself more clear, more obvious. Why would he leave all those Hindus and Muslims in the dark if Christianity really is the truth? What Christianity claims is that God has made himself known in one incredible, staggering move, when his own Son came to earth, shared humanity with us, and died on a cross to pay the price of our wrongdoing. Other religions are human attempts, some of them pretty good attempts, to work out what God is all about and what he expects from us, but they don't have the final piece of the jigsaw, which is where Jesus fits in. God could have spread his message more effectively, of course. He could have sent everybody on earth a memo. He could have reprogrammed our minds with a software update which would have answered all the questions in one. But God isn't like that. He reasons with people rather than blitzing them. He doesn't treat us as a mass problem to be solved at a stroke. And so he entrusts his message to human messengers rather than writing it in the sky. And in the meantime, he goes on loving people wherever they are, sustaining their lives and bringing them joy, whatever they believe, and whether they're aware of him or not. There's a third problem which deters people from believing in God. Sometimes religious people are terrible hypocrites. The newspapers are often full of stories about believers who have done evil things, who claim to worship God but are really obsessed with making money, treating others as sexual puppets, or building their own reputation while they claim to be glorifying God. It's easy to conclude none of what they believe is true. They're all just pretending to be better than they are. Scratch beneath the surface, and all human beings are basically the same. But that would be too quick a judgment. It ignores 2 things. First, for all the high-profile scandal stories, there are thousands and millions of ordinary, unspectacular Christians living principled lives that bring quiet, unnoticed blessings to other people. They serve others and don't make a fuss about it. They're great people whose lifestyle is warm, attractive and honest. They're not the ones who get in the headlines, but they would say that they aren't this way because that's what they've always been. They would say that a real God has changed their basic nature in a powerful way. Second, if you feel outraged by the hypocrisy of some Christians, isn't that an indication that you expect religious people to be better than that? That those people outrage you Not because God doesn't exist, but maybe because he does, and they're using him cold-bloodedly for their own selfish purpose. Maybe it feels so wrong because they're faking something genuine. Nobody, after all, makes a forgery of a £9 note. You only copy something that really exists. There's a lot more to be said, but that should be enough to get us started. What do you think?